Coming up, Tyson Foods announces a vaccine requirement for its employees. And local community leaders push together to push for more vaccinations in the 4 states. Also, Pitt State announces new COVID-19 mitigation strategies prior to school starting.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Zach Dodge, and of course, as everyone knows, joined here with Michael Hayslip. Good morning, Michael.
I know you regular watchers of the KOAM news are probably like, can we please have somebody else? And you will.
I'm not that way.
You will hear eventually. We're blessed enough to be joined by Zach Dodge, though. That puts a smile on my face. Our current conditions over 7th and Rangeline right now, just a skosh warmer than what we had yesterday. Is we don't have any. Iola just made me a liar. Mustang Country, you know I love you. We were sitting with everybody at 60 right until that just changed. So we've got 159 in Iola, and we're as high as 68 right now in Cassville. So like I said, it's not a big difference from yesterday, but just slightly warmer, and no worries on the Skywatch storm tracker. The jet stream continues to shift down on us, but tell you what, here's a little positive aspect of it. Yesterday, while it was coming about right here, as it pushes off to the east, that's also going to help that haze and the air quality that we've talked so much about. Highs today up into the mid to high 80s, so overall, even a little bit warmer than what we had on Monday and Tuesday. Once again, say 2 to 5 p.m., there you go, just a little pop of green every now and then, and the clouds then re-emerging on Thursday. You'd think that that would kind of keep us at bay, rain-wise, temperature-wise. Nah, not really. We're going to keep on in the mid-80s here for the next 2 days. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Welcome back, summer. Look at that, running all the way through Tuesday next week.
Right. As we've added days, I've continued to see, oh, hey, there's another 90 on there. Another 90 degree. Dang. But thank you much, Michael. Yep. Numbers are in from yesterday's election day as voters in parts of the area decide tax issues impacting schools, emergency services, and community improvements. We begin with a proposal to extend a quarter-cent sales tax in Joplin for 10 years. Voters said yes to that plan to pay for stormwater control and parks. Voters in Carthage were asked whether to allow the city to collect a use tax, which would apply to purchases made online from out-of-state vendors. It would be the same rate as the local sales tax rate. The proposal passed. City officials estimated the tax would generate about $740,000 a year. A Jasper County proposal would allow the 911 board to increase its sales tax rate above the 0.1% it currently receives. Voters approved the plan, allowing a tax of up to 0.25%. In Kansas, Columbus, Kansas voters accepted a $14.75 million school bond proposal. It's to fund various improvements and additions to the Central campus facility, including new classrooms, safe rooms, cafeteria, and kitchen. And in Chautauqua, Kansas, voters said yes to a half-cent 5-year sales tax proposal for parks and street maintenance and improvements. We'll have more election results later on in the show, and as always, you can find all the election numbers at KOAMnewsnow.com. One of the largest employers in the 4 states announces it's requiring vaccines for its U.S.-based workforce. Tyson Foods made the announcement on Tuesday. The company also announced it would give $200 to fully vaccinated team members. Tyson's chief medical officer said, quote, "Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the single most effective thing we can do to protect our team members, their families, and their communities." Republican Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt wants to curb the power of Governor Laura Kelly and local officials to impose COVID-19 restrictions, and he's taking that fight to the state's highest court. Schmidt says he's asked the Kansas Supreme Court to keep in place a law that limits Kelly's power and local officials' authority, even though a Johnson County trial court judge struck it down last month. Schmidt is appealing the judge's ruling and wants the decision put on hold in the meantime. The Republican-controlled legislature enacted the law earlier this year to prevent Kelly from restricting businesses or imposing a statewide mask mandate. Joplin area advocates and health officials are pushing vaccination efforts. The Southwest Missouri Democrats held a press conference in partner with Access Family Care in Joplin with a goal to share information about the area's current COVID-19 situation and to raise vaccine rates. Joplin's Mayor Pro Tem spoke at the event and says he wanted to raise awareness about vaccination in the community amid the rise in hospitalizations.
Most of the hospitalizations are from the unvaccinated. So I definitely think there needs to be an effort to educate and give people all the positive reinforcement and information that they need to make an informed decision to get the vaccine.
Cortez also says that the City Council is aware of the area's COVID-19 numbers and says they are standing by to help the community get through it. Pitt State announces new COVID-19 mitigation measures. Prior to moving into residence halls, students will have to either submit proof of vaccination, show they've had the virus at some point since March, had a negative test within 72 hours of arrival, or be willing to take a COVID test when they arrive for move-in day. The university is encouraging faculty, staff, and students to get vaccinated and will offer incentives to vaccinated students. Additionally, all faculty, staff, and students will be required to wear masks indoors regardless of vaccination status if social distancing is not possible. The policy will be reviewed every 2 weeks. More information can be found on our website. Some prospective and pre-nursing students had the chance to tour Crowder College's nursing program. The presentations and tours were meant to show what it takes to become a registered nurse through the Crowder program.
It's a lot of hard work though, and so we wanted to showcase to students the work that it would take to understand the degree program, to understand the day-to-day and the career and the different skills they would have to learn, and just showcase so they have an idea of what to expect after they get that degree.
Crowder's nursing program now includes a special learning area about COVID and nursing. A geophysical survey is taking place at the Fort Scott National Historic Site. A 4-person crew from the Nebraska-based Midwest Archaeological Center is using ground-penetrating radar to peer into the fort's lost history. They're looking for foundations, walls, and other relics that have been buried with time to help give a better understanding of what the fort looked like nearly 180 years ago.
Most people that visit the fort don't have a clue what all's back here. When I started here, I didn't have a clue what all was back here. This is going to tell us those stories. This is going to share what really happened at the fort, what it really looked like. Is what looks like just a field actually has life, or had life on top of it, but that life is being told through the stories that's below it.
Brunner says they're hoping to use what they find combined with old photos to create augmented reality tours where you'll be able to hold up your phone and see what once was there. It's 5:07.
Pretty cool idea right there. I think that story is great. Highs in the mid-80s today, partly sunny skies. The haze still remains. Overnight winds going to shift, come in from the southeast, an indicator that we're about to get hotter. And when I say that, I mean we're going to begin rolling 90s there on Friday, carry us into the weekend. Chances for rain on Thursday and Friday remain slim. Always that shot for a pop-up raindrop in between about 2 and 5 p.m. each day.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, COVID cases spiking.
President Biden is calling out Republican governors over their COVID-19 policies. I'm Bradley Blackburn with why he says they need to help or get out of the way.
Plus, Pittsburgh State Baseball had a chance to check out potential future Gorillas and show off their facilities on campus with a prospect camp. And the Missouri couple who became famous for pointing guns at protesters are pardoned by Governor Mike Parson. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
at Blue Ribbon.
Pittsburgh State baseball with a chance to check out potential future Gorillas and show off their facilities on campus. Coach Fornelli and the Gorillas hit the field for prospect camp yesterday. It gives high schoolers an opportunity to get in front of college coaches and earn a shot to play at the next level.
Around 60 high school players hit the field at Pittsburgh State Tuesday, hoping to catch the eyes of college coaches.
A good opportunity to show what I can do, so then I can get my name out there and just play ball.
We have 4 other college coaches here, 1 Division I, 3 junior colleges, so they're going to get a good look-see today to see where they might fit in.
I've just always been playing baseball ever since I was 6, and I had so much love for it, and I just love playing it. It's a good way to escape from life, just come out here and play ball and make new friends and just compete.
Pitt State's prospect camp gives players a chance to be seen and evaluated by Coach Fornelli and those coaches.
I'm over here just to get better and learn new things and just show these colleges what I can do and just be a better player.
They'll all get an evaluation sheet at the end of the day to kind of see where they fit.
The players are not the only ones who benefit from the camp.
We'll find a guy or two that we really like today. Now, getting them is a whole different thing, but we wouldn't do these things if we couldn't find a guy or two, and hopefully we find 5 to 10, you never know.
And if that doesn't work out, it's still a chance for Pittsburgh State to show off its facilities and the rest of what PSU has to offer.
We're so excited to have people on campus. We have a beautiful campus, have unreal facilities. Like you said, we're going to put them in the bus and a team at a time and take them over to see the plaster in the weight room and kind of see the campus and not only to see our facilities but the football field and all that stuff. Maybe it's a kid that chooses to come to school to Pitt State, maybe not to play baseball, just go to school and be on our great engineering program or construction science or whatever it may be. We got a ton of options for guys and hopefully our facilities and our school will show off well today, and hopefully we'll have some future Gorillas.
That story, of course, brought to you by our incomparable sports director, one Jacob Leonard, who does just marvelous, marvelous work. The camp started with individual pro-style drills in the morning before putting the players in game situations, and that happened yesterday afternoon. Major League Baseball last night, Royals kicking off a series against first-place White Sox. Royals trying to avoid that 4th straight loss. Andrew Vaughn, solo home run for Chicago. 1-0 Sox. Then in the 3rd, Tim Anderson, dude can just straight hit. He's one of those guys that rolls out of bed and he hits. Going the other way with a man on, Chicago takes a lead, scores 3 runs in the inning. Next inning, worst news, Andrew Benintendi on the steal. Comes up lame with a bad shoulder. Bad left shoulder. We've seen Fernando Tatis do this a number of times this year. Benintendi forced to leave the game. See if I can get an update on him. Didn't get any better as the Royals fall 7-1. National League Cardinals game 1, 1 game over 500 and opening a 3-game series against the Braves. Cards got 1 run in the 9th. Braves already had 6 on the board as Atlanta wins it 6-1. Kansas City Chiefs put on the full pads yesterday for the first time at training camp. Kansas City just 11 days away from their first preseason game. Less than 6 weeks away from the regular season opener. Chiefs will start the preseason on August the 14th on the road against the San Francisco 49ers. So you got 7 practices until that one actually happens. Putting on the pads, a step in the right direction, something the players say they have been looking forward to.
Good to get the guys in pads. I thought they worked hard. It was all flood period today. There were no live periods today, but I thought their effort was where it needed to be, and they challenged each other.
It's different when you put them pads on to where you just got helmets on, and everything was smooth.
Yeah, that first day is always fun. Whenever we're out here in jerseys and whatnot, that's not football. And, some guys can't show unless they're physical. Like, physicality is part of the game. Physicality allows you to play.
I love putting on the pads, just able to get more physical. So, it was good to get physical and then just conditioning as well. I like to think I'm good in shape, but when you put the pads on, it'll wake you up a little bit.
Again, that preseason opener August 14th against the Niners. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a diplomatic standoff in Tokyo.
Speaks out after defecting while Simone Biles brings home another medal. I'm Greg Palka in London. That's my story coming up.
And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. About 20 minutes past the hour, so whether on the 7th, I'll make it up. Producers will be fine. They will know the difference. High temperatures for the past 10 days, even with the string of 84s we put together. Look at that, 3 consecutive days where we hit that 84 number. It's still 10-day average, still sitting 91.5 degrees. Current conditions, though, we're going to be back into the mid-80s there. We'll be way below the old 90s that we had to end July. 63 is where we sit over 7th and Rangeline right now, still holding on to 59 in Iola. Let's go 66 in Miami and 63 right now in Carthage. The Skywatch Storm Tracker remains on the clear side, and not even down to, a couple past days. We've had some action down to our south. We don't even have that right now. What we still do have is the old air quality warning for Kansas City. Runs until 9 o'clock tonight, but as the jet stream slowly progresses to the east of us, it is going to help take some of that particulate matter, whether it be the smoke and the ash, and kind of disperse that toward the Mississippi River. But the haze is going to hang around for today and into tomorrow as well. You can tell we're right on that fine line right there with the color contour as far as where the cooler temperatures are that range through central Missouri all the way to the Ohio River Valley, and a little bit of heat out to the west of it. So that's why our temperature is a little bit warmer than yesterday, but not as bad as what we had a week ago. Severe thunderstorm risk map, take that southwest and northeast line, cut us right through the middle of it. No worries about that. So any raindrops that we do see are going to be minimal at best, and the best time frame is going to be really in between 2 and 5 p.m. Just a little pop-up every now and then. We had that one that lingered down there on the Missouri-Arkansas state line yesterday. And so that'll be about the extent of it. And then once again, Thursday, we got a little chance for that to roll through, but it's not organized, and it's certainly nothing severe, as our temperatures will be up into the mid-80s today. And then overnight, a wind shift is going to indicate a little heat up. That will begin in earnest on Friday when we have temperatures in the 90s. And then we're looking at a hot, hot weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, mid-90s. We just keep on rolling them. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Missouri Governor Mike Parson making good on his promise to pardon one Mark and Patricia McCloskey. Name ring a bell? No, that's the McCloskeys right there. They gained notoriety for pointing guns at social justice demonstrators as they marched past their home in St. Louis of last year. In June, the couple pleaded guilty to misdemeanors related to that incident, but those charges are now pardoned. Our question to you, do you agree with the governor's pardon of the McCloskeys? Log on to our Facebook page or to go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, with COVID-19 cases spiking in the U.S., President Biden warned elected officials to either help or, quote, get out of the way. Some continue to resist the idea of making vaccines mandatory. Others won't allow schools to require masks. Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
Republican elected officials to do more to help end the pandemic.
I say to these governors, please help. But if you aren't going to help, at least get out of the way of the people who are trying to do the right thing.
The president singled out Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
I believe the results of their decisions are not good for their constituents. And it's clear to me and to most of the medical experts that the decisions being made, like not allowing mask mandates in school and the like, are bad health policy.
Florida is among the southern states hit hard by this summer's coronavirus surge. DeSantis has said it's up to individuals to wear masks and take safety precautions.
This has been a really negative thing throughout this whole thing with some of these quote experts, some of the media. Somebody contracts a highly transmissible airborne virus, and they're viewed as having done something wrong.
Experts say unvaccinated people are at high risk because of how easily the Delta variant spreads. But in 17 states, the vaccination rate is still below 50%.
It's time for people to see vaccination as literally necessary to living a good and full and healthy life.
Starting in September, anyone entering a New York City restaurant, theater, or gym will have to show proof they've received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
The CDC has reinstated its moratorium on evictions in COVID hotspots. The ban had lapsed last weekend, prompting fears that millions of renters could lose their homes in the midst of a public health crisis. Long-lasting symptoms from COVID-19 are rare in children, according to a new large UK study. Researchers looked at data on more than 1,700 children who tested positive for COVID and found those who do develop symptoms usually get better after 6 days, and a low number have symptoms beyond a month. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Partly sunny yet hazy today, as we're going to have temperatures that are up into the mid-80s. Then the heat wave really kicks in earnest come Thursday. We'll be back right after this.
At US Cellular.
Coming up, Tyson Foods announces a vaccine requirement for its employees. And local community leaders come together to push for more vaccinations in the 4 states. Also, Pitt State announces new COVID-19 mitigation measures prior to school starting.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Zach Dodge, and that right over there is Michael Hayslip, as we know.
You can go ahead and call me that dude.
That dude?
That dude.
That dude over there.
That dude's going to tell you that it's going to be in the 80s today.
Sounds good. I like that.
It's not going to be bad at all. And I tell you another thing, Zach. I was going to say you and I have been harping on it. I was going to throw you under the bus along with me. I'll bust myself here. I've been harping on it all week long. Our air quality is getting better as we head toward the weekend. Now, as we head toward the weekend, air quality gets better. It gets replaced with a whole bunch of heat. So it's darned if you do, darned if you don't. 63 degrees is where we stand on 7th and Rangeline in Joplin right now. We still have a 59 in Iola, 65 in Monette, 65 in Parsons, 66 in Miami. A very, very comfortable morning with really no worries on the Skywatch storm tracker. We're going to have some morning clouds develop here in a little bit. The key factor right there is that jet stream. And instead of rolling right through here, it's taking a little bit of an easterly shift. That's a good thing for us, especially when it comes to that smoke and ash coming out of the western wildfires. Weather trend for today, partly sunny skies with that haze still remaining and a little shift overnight as far as our wind goes. And once again, any rain that we do see, it's going to amount to several raindrops on the car. You know, may come down for about 5 to 10 minutes. We've got a little bit that wants to develop there on Thursday morning, but it's not organized and it doesn't do anything to slow down our temperatures, as we're going to be in the mid-80s today and tomorrow, and then up into the 90s beginning on Friday. That'll carry us through next week.
So it's looking like next week is shaping up to feel probably pretty close to it felt last week.
Almost a spitting image, man. That's a great point, and here's why I say that.
Yep.
That's the last 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
That Tuesday through Saturday run, we're going to have a Saturday through Wednesday run.
Right.
Really, yeah, beginning this weekend.
All right. Well, thank you much, Michael. Numbers are in from Election Day as voters in parts of the area decide tax issues impacting schools, emergency services, and community improvements. We'll start with the city of Purcell, Missouri. At issue, whether the city is authorized to sell its water and wastewater utility to Missouri American Water for $2,200. Voters approved the plan 59-4. Next, voters in Oronogo asked to approve a tax increase of 0.3 cents to help fund staffing, volunteers, and equipment upgrades. This one passed 123-66. And a measure before Avila voters. It asked if the fire protection district should be extended to all property located within corporate limits of the city of LaRussell, Missouri. Voters said yes, 4-0. We'll have more election results in a little bit later in the show, and of course on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. One of the largest employers in the 4 states announces it's requiring vaccines for its U.S.-based workforce. Tyson Foods made the announcement Tuesday. The company also announced it would give $200 to fully vaccinated team members. Tyson's chief medical officer said, quote, "Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the single most effective thing we can do to protect our team members, their families, and their communities." Joplin area advocates and health officials are pushing vaccination efforts. The Southwest Missouri Democrats held a press conference in partnership with Access Family Care in Joplin with a goal to share information about the area's current COVID-19 situation and to raise vaccine rates. Joplin's Mayor Pro Tem spoke at the event and says he wanted to raise awareness about vaccination in the community amid the rise in hospitalizations.
With the Delta variant surge currently, most of the hospitalizations are from the unvaccinated. So I definitely think there needs to be an effort to educate and give people all the positive reinforcement and information that they need to make an informed decision to get the vaccine.
Cortez also says that the City Council is aware of the area's COVID-19 numbers and says they're standing by to help the community. Pitt State announces new COVID-19 mitigation strategies. Prior to moving into residence halls, students will have to either submit proof of vaccination, show they've had the virus at some point since March, had a negative COVID test within 72 hours of arrival, or be willing to take a COVID test when they arrive for move-in day. The university is encouraging faculty, staff, and students to get vaccinated and will offer vaccination incentives to students. Additionally, all faculty, staff, and students will be required to wear masks indoors regardless of vaccination status if social distancing is not possible. The policy will be reviewed every 2 weeks. More information can be found on our website. People in Miami are donating blood as part of the Boots and Badges blood drive. The event is a friendly competition between the Miami police and fire departments. Anyone 16 years old and older was asked to stop by the Miami Civic Center to donate blood. Donors received a Boots and Badges t-shirt, a ticket to a local attraction, and entered to win a pair of tickets to see country music artist Granger Smith at Buffalo Run Casino and Resort on Friday.
The local blood provider here in Integris Miami Hospital, Integris Grove, and St. Francis Veneta Hospital. So making sure that you're donating blood with us, make sure that we have blood to fill those hospitals' needs, your local hospitals' needs. So we're looking forward to some great Boots and Badges programs in the region.
The event will continue, I'm assuming today, from noon to 6 p.m. Republican Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt wants to curb the power of Governor Laura Kelly and local officials to impose COVID-19 restrictions, and he's taking that fight to the state's highest court. Schmidt says he's asked the Kansas Supreme Court to keep in place a law that limits Kelly's power and local officials' authority, even though a Johnson County trial court judge struck it down last month. Schmidt is appealing the judge's ruling and wants the decision put on hold in the meantime. The Republican-controlled legislature enacted the law earlier this year to prevent Kelly from restricting businesses or imposing a statewide mask mandate. A geophysical survey is taking place at the Fort Scott National Historic Site. A 4-person crew from the Nebraska-based Midwest Archaeological Center is using ground-penetrating radar to peer into the fort's lost history. They're looking for foundations, walls, and other relics that have been buried with time to help give a better understanding of what the fort looked like nearly 180 years ago.
Most people that visit the fort don't have a clue what all's back here. When I started here, I didn't have a clue what all was back here. This is going to tell us those stories. This is going to share what really happened at the fort, what it really looked like. Is what looks like just a field actually has life, or had life on top of it, but that life is being told through the stories that's below it.
Brenner says they're hoping to use what they find combined with old photos to create augmented reality tours, where you'll be able to hold up your phone and see what once was there, which does sound pretty cool. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, how more than 20 colleges and universities have wiped out a combined total of more than $25 million in student debt for students across the country. Plus, Simone Biles takes home bronze medal and a sprinter speaks out after seeking asylum. We'll have the latest, but first it's 539.
Mid-80s this afternoon. The haze remains from the West Coast wildfires overnight. Little wind shift. So instead of the north-northeast that we've had, south-southeast. What's that an indicator of? We're going to heat back up. 90s by the time we get to the weekend. Be back with World Watch next.
Topping World Watch, the U.S. has returned over 17,000 stolen archaeological treasures to Iraq. Some of the ancient artifacts were displayed at Iraq's Ministry of Culture Tuesday, except for significant pieces which will go on display soon in Iraq's National Museum. Most of the historical pieces date back 4,000 years to ancient Mesopotamia. At the handover signing Tuesday, Iraq's foreign ministry says most of the items were returned from the U.S., with several others coming from Japan, the Netherlands, and Italy. Iraq's antiquities have been looted during decades of war and insurgency and traded illegally by traders. For the first time since seeking asylum. This as U.S. gymnast Simone Biles takes home another medal. Greg Palcott has more.
Simone Biles tying the record for most Olympic medals won by an American gymnast. She took home her 7th, a bronze, during the balance beam finals on Tuesday. The competition marking a comeback for the athlete who withdrew from multiple events to care for her mental well-being. Biles says this medal means more than her gold.
I'm pretty happy. I wasn't expecting to medal. Just to have one more opportunity to compete at the Olympics meant the world to me.
Meanwhile, an Olympic sprinter at the center of a diplomatic standoff in Tokyo speaking out for the first time. 24-year-old Kristina Timanouskaya says team officials made it clear she would face punishment upon returning home to Belarus. The sprinter was set to run in the 200-meter race on Monday. The day before, she says officials rushed her to the airport to fly home after she criticized team management on social media.
If I were to refuse to return home and run in the 200-meter race, I would be fired and kicked out of the national team. There were also thinly disguised hints that more would await me.
Timanouskaya defected and plans to fly to Poland this week after officials there granted her a humanitarian visa. The International Olympic Committee announcing Tuesday it's conducting an investigation into the case.
I think all of those put together should, I hope, give confidence to all athletes that the IOC is listening to them and acting on what any concerns that they may have.
Timanouskaya hopes to continue her career and plans to compete in 2 more Olympic Games. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Now let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
All right, Zach, this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, Missouri Governor Mark Parson making good on his promise to pardon Mark and Patricia McCloskey. I just had too many M's running through my head. All right, so there are the McCloskeys right there, and they're the ones that gained notoriety for pointing guns at demonstrators when they marched past the McCloskeys' home in St. Louis last year. Now, in June, the couple pleaded guilty to misdemeanors related to the incident. Those charges have now been pardoned, asking if you agree with Governor Parson's pardon of the McCloskeys. And right now, 93% of you say yes. It's been a long time since we started out of the gate with an overwhelming number like that. You can make your voice heard. KOAMNewsNow.com/vote or connect to us through our Facebook page. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The CDC has issued a new temporary moratorium on evictions. The new order expires October 3rd. It covers counties experiencing substantial or high levels of COVID-19 spread, where about 90% of the U.S. population resides. Some of the largest employers in the 4 states announces it's requiring vaccines for its U.S.-based workforce. Tyson Foods made the announcement on Tuesday. The company also announced it would give $200 to fully vaccinated team members. Tyson's chief medical officer said, quote, "Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the single most effective thing we can do to protect our team, their families, and their communities." Joplin area advocates and health officials push vaccination efforts. The Southwest Missouri Democrats held a press conference in partnership with Access Family Care in Joplin with the goal to share information about the area's COVID-19 situation and raise vaccination rates. Joplin's Mayor Pro Tem spoke at the event and says he wanted to raise awareness about vaccination in the community amid the rise in hospitalizations. The mayor also says the city council is aware of the numbers and says they're standing by to help the community. A campaign to put Missouri's gas tax increase to a public vote has been tabled. Americans for Prosperity Missouri had hoped voters would overturn the tax increase, but the group's executive director says the campaign just didn't come together. The law will gradually raise the state's 17-cent a gallon gas tax to 29.5 cents over 5 years. Buyers can get a refund if they keep their receipts. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Working through a Wednesday that is going to bring us pretty mild temperatures for the beginning of August. We'll get up into the mid 80s, about 85, 86 degrees this afternoon. That haze from the West Coast wildfires still there, going to be there for the next 2 days at least. But we are seeing a little shift in the jet stream that's going to help us out. Speaking of shifts, the wind is going to shift overnight and work in from the southeast. And while it's not going to be blustery, it is an indicator that warmer temperatures are on the way. Any rain that we do see in between about 2-5 p.m. will pop up rain shower. Not going to mount to anything. And then we've got 90s headed our way for Friday into next week.
Millions of dollars in student debt gone. Thousands of students with debt from their time as students at historically black colleges and universities are getting major assistance. Daryl Forges has a closer look.
Carrington Wiggum is a rising senior at Florida A&M University. She's also the student body president and has big dreams after college.
So I know I want to end up in the political arena or the entertainment arena.
The rising senior had an unpaid balance of $8,000 she needed to clear before registering for classes, when suddenly her balance was wiped out.
When I saw that there was nothing in my account, especially being an out-of-state student, I was like, I'm not going to even put a question mark where God put a period.
Wiggum wasn't alone. It happened to thousands of students on campuses like hers around the country.
You should know that for the last year and a half, this institution has provided more than $16 million in student support and debt relief.
FAMU is among at least 20 HBCUs that paid off a combined total of more than $25 million in student debt in the last 3 months. That's thanks to the funding from the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, which is also part of the CARES Act.
I've received calls and texts and emails from students who otherwise would not be able to return to school in the fall.
A 2016 study by the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities found about 78% of bachelor's degrees recipients graduate with less than $30,000 in debt. HBCU officials say forgiving debt, especially for these students of color, is crucial.
These students have less debt, which means their credit score is going to be better, which means their opportunity to purchase homes, to purchase cars, to purchase other items.
For Wiggum, her family works hard to put her and her brother through college, and this help will go a long way.
I feel like I just have to continue the torch to make sure that their endorsement essentially goes to great use.
I'm Daryl Forges reporting.
Imagine the relief they must feel coming out of that.
Oh yeah, I know I would.
That's tremendous.
That student debt is not fun. It's no fun.
I'm with you, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially college debt.
Right.
Yeah, you're just like.
It's like,
how
I'm
far
going
did
to
I
be paying
dig
this
this
off
hole
for
and
the rest of my life.
how am I supposed to get out of it?
Yeah.
All right, Zach, let's run through some things here on the old interweb. Let's start with our interactive map of air quality. airnow.gov, airnow.gov. This is the one we've been talking about for the past several days. Now, this is a good thing. The yellow, that means really it's getting better. Yesterday we had some orange in there. Now the orange, you got run out here almost through central Kansas. And another thing that I love about this is you can go ahead and you can set it to whatever you want, whether ozone, particulate matter, and that's where we currently stand. And it's going to, even with the haze sticking around, we're going to get incrementally better. And just give you an idea of everything they have here. I just think this is a great map that they have. Now, as we transition to Facebook, you can go to at Michael Hayslip, KOAM, and each and every morning. Just throw on a quick little hitter. That's the same forecast that you can find on the Skywatch weather app. And don't forget, the old weather app is downloadable and free for all your mobile devices. And finally, KOAM News Now, our Facebook page. As Missouri Governor Mike Parson, I think I may have called him Mark earlier because I was thinking about the McCloskeys and his name is Mark, her name Patricia. Of course, that's the St. Louis couple. Pretty much went viral with that picture right there when the demonstrators walked past their house in St. Louis last year and they came out brandishing weapons. They pleaded guilty to a couple misdemeanors, but Governor Mike Parson has pardoned them. And there's a little bit of video there from the actual scene. Our question is, do you agree with the governor's pardon of the McCloskeys? And right out of the gate, the yeses have been overwhelming, sitting right now at 90%. All you got to do is go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, take you right to the Instapoll, and appreciate everybody's engagement each and every morning. We'll be back right after this. We'll roll 86s for today and tomorrow afternoon. Then the heat hits on Friday, carries us up into the mid-90s by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday. In the words of Liam Mandelbaum, we'll be right back after this.
Coming up, Tyson Foods announces a vaccine requirement for its employees. And local community leaders come together to push for more vaccinations in the 4 states. Also, Pitt State announces new COVID-19 mitigation strategies prior to the upcoming semester.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Zach Dodge, and normally this is the point where I would toss it over to Michael Hayslip over here. But I keep getting distracted by Liam Mandelbaum behind the camera.
Yeah.
He's wearing what looks like a shower curtain.
Well, actually, it essentially is a shower curtain.
Yeah.
And folks, just to peel back the curtain a little bit here in the studio.
It's kind of funny.
TV studios are known for being abnormally cold.
Very cold.
Even in the middle of summer, because of the equipment and whatnot, we have to keep it very cold. So it's not unusual to see people walking around in sweatshirts and jeans when they're working a show. And you're right, Liam instead has decided to grab what is the equivalent of a shower curtain in our studio, and is now wearing it,
a cloth one,
behind the camera. So, Liam, I applaud you for finding something to keep you warm as he sits back there and shakes like he's in a meat locker. Oh, now I go.
Yeah, now you go. Now it's your turn.
I was waiting for the official toss. Live look outside of Television City. Kind of pretty sight right there. We still have 23 minutes until sunrise over Joplin, but it's one of those where the clouds creep up. And as Zach has pointed out past couple of days, yeah, the haze is problematic when it comes to breathing, but it has made for some beautiful, beautiful sunrise colors across the 4 states. 62 right now in Joplin, and a whole bunch of, say, even high 50s. Iola's still hanging on there, up into the mid-60s. The Skywatch storm tracker remains clear, and really the contiguous 48 relatively quiet, with the trough of the jet stream digging down to the Gulf Coast, and that's where we see the majority of the rain. Do have some flooding concerns here, say from about North Carolina up to all the way really up to the northeastern portion of the new United States. Our weather trend, quiet, mid-80s, really hard to beat. Now the wind is going to shift here overnight, and once that does, that'll bring warmer temperatures as we head into the weekend. We'll roll back-to-back 86s, and then Friday begins the 90s, and Saturday and Sunday, that begins the mid-90s.
Thank you, Michael. And sorry, Liam, we're both kind of throwing you under the bus this morning now.
That's okay.
Yeah, got to make it fun, though. Prove that you worked here.
I steal a line from my sister. I don't need help throwing myself under the bus. I can do it myself.
Right. Thank you much, Michael. Numbers are in from this election day as voters in parts of the area decide tax issues impacting schools, emergency services, and community improvements. We begin with a proposal to extend a 1/4-cent sales tax in Joplin for 10 years. Voters said yes to that plan to pay for stormwater control and parks. Voters in Carthage were asked whether to allow the city to collect a use tax, which would apply to purchases made out online and from out-of-state vendors. It would be the same rate as the local sales tax. The proposal passes. City officials estimate the tax will generate about $740,000 a year. A Jasper County proposal would allow the 911 board to increase its sales tax rate above the 0.1% it currently receives. Voters approved the plan, allowing a tax of up to 0.25%. And in Kansas, Columbus, Kansas voters accepted a $14.75 million school bond proposal. It'll fund various improvements and additions to the Central Campus facility, including new classrooms, a safe room, cafeteria, and a kitchen. And in Chautauqua, Kansas, voters said yes to a half-cent 5-year sales tax proposal for parks and street maintenance and improvements. We'll have more election results in a few minutes, and as always, you can find all the election numbers at KOAMnewsnow.com. One of the largest employers in the 4 states announces it's requiring vaccines for its U.S.-based workforce. Tyson Foods made the announcement Tuesday. The company also announced it would give $200 to fully vaccinated team members. Tyson's chief medical officer said, quote, "Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the single most effective thing we can do to protect our team members, their families, and their community." Joplin area advocates and health officials also push vaccination efforts. The Southwest Missouri Democrats held a press conference in partnership with Access Family Care in Joplin with the goal to share information about the area's COVID-19 situation and raise vaccine rates. Joplin's Mayor Pro Tem spoke at the event and says he wants to raise awareness about vaccination in the community amid the rise in hospitalizations.
With the Delta variant surge currently, most of the hospitalizations are from the unvaccinated. So I definitely think there needs to be an effort to educate and give people all the positive reinforcement and information that they need to make an informed decision to get the vaccine.
Cortez says the City Council is aware of the area's COVID-19 numbers and that they are standing by to help the community. Pitt State announces new COVID-19 mitigation strategies. Prior to moving into residence halls, students will have to either submit proof of vaccination, show they've had the virus at some point since March, had a negative test within 72 hours of arrival, or be willing to take a COVID test when they arrive for move-in day. The university is encouraging faculty, staff, and students to get vaccinated and will offer incentives to vaccinated students. Additionally, all faculty, staff, and students will be required to wear masks indoors regardless of vaccination status if social distancing is not possible. The policy will be reviewed every 2 weeks. More information on that policy can be found on our website. Some prospective and pre-nursing students had the chance to tour Crowder College's nursing program. The presentations and tours were meant to show what it takes to become a registered nurse through the Crowder program.
A lot of hard work though, and so we wanted to showcase to students the work that it would take to understand the degree program, to understand the day-to-day in the career and the different skills they would have to learn, and just showcase so they have an idea of what to expect after they get that degree.
Crowder's nursing program now includes a special learning area about COVID and nursing. A campaign to put Missouri's new gasoline tax increase to a public vote has been tabled. Americans for Prosperity Missouri had hoped voters would overturn the tax increase, but the group's executive director says the campaign just didn't come together. The law will gradually raise the state's 17-cent a gallon tax to 29.5 cents over 5 years. Buyers can get a refund if they keep their receipts. It's 6:08.
Mediums such as television, how are we completely ignoring the fact that there were an inordinate amount of mascots at that press conference about the COVID vaccine?
There were a lot of mascots.
A lot of mascots. A lot.
Yeah.
Mid-80s, partly sunny skies. Wind shift overnight comes in from the southeast, an indicator of a warm-up that has the 90s on the horizon by the weekend.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we have a pet connection with SEK Humane Society, plus price hike in classroom essentials.
Return to the classroom brings back to school shopping, but supplies will cost more this year than ever before. I'll tell you how much coming up.
And the Biden administration aims for a new milestone with COVID-19 vaccinations as a growing number of places impose requirements for them. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, back-to-school spending is set to reach new records this year because of inflation. Lydia Hu is at a mall in New Jersey with how much more parents are going to be paying this year.
Families will pay about $59 more this year for their back-to-school supplies than they did in previous years. That's going to bring the average spending per household up around $848, according to the National Retail Federation, the highest amount on record since they started tracking this category of spending. What's driving those prices? Inflation. Computers, they'll cost about 2.3% this year than they did last year, but apparel is really where consumers are going to feel the pinch. Boys and girls clothing and shoes up about 5.5% than last year. But price, that's not the only challenge here. It's also supply. Manufacturers started making apparel about 9 months ago, well before manufacturers and retailers could have predicted what the back-to-school needs would be now. So that means you won't see the same amount of selection in terms of color and sizes on the shelves. Watch this.
Retailers didn't know if the school kids and college kids were going to be on campus or in the classroom or at home. So they wanted to be fairly conservative. They placed their bets to be a little bit more thin on product so that they didn't get stuck with it. So we're going to have more people chasing for product this year than they have in the past.
Retail experts say if you see something on the shelf that you like, don't wait. Buy it right away because supplies might run out and discounts and promotions may not be happening this year. Americans aren't disinfecting like they did during the start of the coronavirus pandemic. Shares of Clorox tumbled after the company reported a 9% drop in year-over-year sales. The stock was also down 9% yesterday. Clorox executives blamed reduced demand for its cleaning and disinfectant products. Phones are becoming an integral part of vacationing, if they weren't already anyway. Disneyland says guests will soon be able to unlock their hotel room doors with the official Disneyland app. Guests will be able to go directly to their hotel room without having to personally check in. The app will provide them with a digital key, and it will give guests with their room number and let them know when their room is ready. The app will be able to use a phone's Bluetooth to unlock the room door. That's not how I thought that'd work. According to a press release, only the primary guest on the reservation will have access to the digital key. Guests can also get a traditional hotel key upon requests. I'm actually a little bit surprised Disneyland hasn't had that already, but all right.
Yeah, and it also defeats the purpose of I'm going to go on vacation and not get on my phone.
Right. But I can kind of understand that because even whenever my wife and I go on vacation, I don't look at my phone and check social media, but I still have it in case of emergency. So
I understand
I can
that.
see how that would work.
Yeah. I bet you there's a lot less lost room keys.
That is true. Yeah.
Zach, here's a live look outside of Television City. We are off to a real good looking Wednesday morning, but man, that haze, you can just see it. You just see it just lingering over 7th and Rangeline right there. It just, if you were just to not know it was from the wildfires, you'd be like, what's wrong with that? Something doesn't seem right. 59 degrees in Iola is still our cool point, but everybody else low to mid 60s. We've got 63 in Carthage and 63 in Parsons, 66 already in Miami and Grove. We're going to pay attention to the wind here for the next couple of days because the shift is already in motion. It's been coming in from the north-northeast on Monday and Tuesday. Now we see it east, if not, look at that on the very bottom, trying to make that little southerly push. And that's what's going to result in warmer temperatures here by the weekend. Still got that air quality warning up for Kansas City. The nice thing is the jet stream is beginning to push just to the east. That'll take some of that smoke and haze away. We are going to have to put up with it for today, though. Air quality a little bit better than what we had yesterday. Up into the mid-80s, overnight lows, look at that, high 60s. And so what that indicates is warmer temperatures all the way into the weekend. That's when we get to the mid-90s. We'll be back, a little pet connection. You want to do that, Dodge?
Pet connection.
A pet connection.
Pet connection.
Pet connection's next. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. And about once every week or so, we're fortunate enough to be joined by the wonderful Jasmine Kyle. She's the executive director at the SEK Humane Society. And very often we are joined by Jasmine. And Jasmine, once again, thank you for your time this morning. And usually she'll have a dog, a cat, something in her lap that she shows us and lets us know how important it is to adopt. But we got a little different thing now that we've turned the calendar into August. It's called Clear the Shelter.
Yeah.
Our goal is to get everybody a home, isn't it, Jasmine?
Yes, it is. It's a big month for shelters. So for the whole month of August, we are doing something really drastic because we really are at full capacity. We're dropping dogs all the way down to just $20. All of the animals at our shelter are already spayed and neutered. They're microchipped. They're up to date on their vaccinations. They are ready to go to their forever homes. We've been in quarantine for the last 3 weeks. We do not discriminate when we intake sick animals. So we had to quarantine to get some upper respiratory under control, but we will be officially cleared this week. And our first open weekend to the public is this weekend, the first weekend in August. So people can do one of two things. You can either come see us this weekend, or two, you can actually go online to our website, which is the sekhumanesociety.com. You can see all of our adoptable animals there, and you can even submit an application, and we can schedule you your own private adoption appointment.
You know, it's crazy when you tell me there's only a $20 adoption fee, and they've got all their shots, they're microchipped, and then you actually have some animals that are sponsored, I guess would be the best. They don't even have an adoption fee, is that correct?
Yep, that is correct. So for those individuals, this is from businesses to community members, from our neighbors in the area. They will sponsor them. Basically, they pay for their adoption fee, and that sponsorship is guaranteed for lifetime. They will forever not have an adoption once they are sponsored with us.
Okay, so that's our goal for the month of August, folks. We're going to clear the shelter, find everybody wonderful homes. Now, I know you also have some exciting news about the food bank program partnering with the United States Humane Society. And I want to be able to give you time to give a shout out to everybody who played a key role in that.
Yeah, so we were very blessed early into the pandemic with getting food from Greater Good Charities and through the United States Humane Society. It was earlier this year that we had a miracle happen, and the United States Humane Society, Chewy, was able to partner with us, and we got in 25 pallets. We're talking about 35,000 pounds of food. That program has been going on for 4.5 months. So we were down to our last 2 nights, and we had another miracle happen, and the United States Humane Society and Chewy reached out to us, and they wanted to partner up again. So we are very pleased to share that we just got done last week unloading another 25 pallets of food that is going to provide another, at least a minimum 3 months of food for this program. So we are going to be continuing it. It's every Wednesday night at our shelter from 4:30 to 6.
Jasmine, can't thank you enough and the SEK Humane Society for not only making sure that the dogs that you take in are safe and find homes, but also to taking care of those who have homes but may be in need at this point in time. Jasmine Kyle, Executive Director of the SEK Humane Society, thank you so much for your time. Catch up with you here next week, couple weeks?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, I appreciate it. You have a great day, Jasmine. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, the Biden administration is touting a new milestone. 70% of adults have gotten at least 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. It comes as some states and cities impose new guidelines as a result of rising COVID cases. Madeline Rivera has the story from Washington.
We are so incredibly excited for you to be here.
New York University now holding in-person tours for the first time in 16 months, demonstrating an attempt to return to normalcy. There are some changes, though.
The university is requiring all students to be vaccinated.
NYU is one of many colleges nationwide requiring students to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 before coming back to campus. New York City is taking an additional step, saying anyone who wants to go to a restaurant, a gym, or see a performance indoors must show they have at least one dose of the vaccine.
This is a miraculous place, literally full of wonders. And if you're vaccinated, all that's going to open up to you.
70% of adults in the country are partly vaccinated, a big accomplishment, says the Biden administration, but not yet a cause for celebration. To beat the pandemic, the White House is backing vaccine mandates in schools, hospitals, and private companies.
If you want to do business with the federal government, get your workers vaccinated.
The Delta variant is complicating the fight against the virus, increasing the number of breakthrough cases.
These interventions have failed time and time again throughout this pandemic.
Senator Lindsey Graham is one of the latest public figures to catch COVID-19 despite being vaccinated. Graham says he's glad he was vaccinated, adding, "Without vaccination, I am certain I would not feel as well as I do now."
The White House is touting another achievement. The U.S. has now sent more than 110 million COVID-19 vaccine doses to more than 60 countries, making it a global leader in vaccine donations. Researchers now are finding long-term cognitive problems with people who've had COVID-19. UK researchers study more than 80,000 intelligence tests of people. Of those people who took it, roughly 13,000 said they had COVID-19. Many of the people who said they had previously had COVID found it harder to do things related to reasoning and problem solving. There was also a connection with how bad their symptoms of COVID were to how poorly they did on the test. The people who were placed on ventilators for their COVID symptoms on average dropped about 7 IQ points. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
As we progress through our Wednesday, partly sunny skies with the haze still sticking over us. Air quality is a little bit better than what we had yesterday, though. Clouds begin to gather here overnight, but one thing that'll do also traps in the heat. Now, the big heat wave really isn't going to be upon us until we get to the weekend, and any rain that we do see rather scattered. Now, Thursday morning, we see a little bit try to work in here. Not going to amount to hardly anything, though. And then sit back and get ready for the 90s because they're going to be here all through the middle of next week. And, of course, you can always find the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
Coming up, Tyson Foods announces a vaccine requirement for its employees. And local community leaders come together to push for more vaccinations in the 4 states. Also, Pitt State announces new COVID-19 mitigation measures prior to school starting.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Zach Dodge. We can see the sun starting to come up and looks real good out there.
It looks very pretty. That's over 7th and Rangeline right there. Kind of took the tower cam, just kind of tilted it to the north and to the east to give you an idea of the light cloud cover that we have. And of course, that haze that's been hanging over. 62 degrees right now in Joplin, extremely comfortable outside. Still hanging on to 59 there in Iola, 65 in Miami, and 63 in Carthage. Skywatch Storm Tracker looking delightful. Don't have any concerns. It's the jet stream, instead of rolling right through us, starting to make a little easterly push toward the Mississippi River. Majority of the rain for today is going to run from the Gulf to the Mid-Atlantic and then up the East Coast, almost an inverted L, if you will. We'll have mild temperatures for, this will be the fourth consecutive day, because we've rolled 84, 84, 84. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and we'll be around 86 for today. And as a matter of fact, we'll be able to do back-to-back 86s. Any spotty chances of rain really between 2 and 5. Now, Thursday morning, we've got some that tries to work in here from the west, but it's certainly nothing organized, and don't let it slow you down because, like I said, Thursday is going to be the last day we're in the 80s, and then Friday we hit the 90s. Saturday and Sunday we hit the mid-90s.
Thank you much, Michael.
You do not look convinced when you say thank you as I go mid-90s, and Zach steers me, goes,
thanks, I guess. Maybe. But thanks for the forecast.
In the words of a wise woman, thank you, Michael.
Numbers are in from Election Day as voters in parts of the area decide tax issues impacting schools, emergency services, and community improvements. We'll start with the city of Purcell, Missouri. At issue, whether the city is authorized to sell its water and wastewater utility to Missouri American Water for $220,000. Voters approved the plan 59-4. Next, voters in Oronogo were asked to approve a tax increase of 0.3 cents to help fund staffing, volunteers, and equipment upgrades at the fire department. This one passed 123-66. And a measure before Avila voters. It asked if the fire protection district should be extended to all property located within corporate limits of the city of La Russell. Voters said yes, 4-0. We'll have more election results a little bit later in the show, and of course you can check our website right now, KOAMnewsnow.com. One of the largest employers in the 4 states announces it's requiring vaccines for its U.S.-based workforce. Tyson Foods made the announcement on Tuesday. The company also announced it would give $200 to fully vaccinated team members. Tyson's chief medical officer said, quote, "Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the single most effective thing we can do to protect our team members, their families, and their communities." Joplin area advocates and health officials are pushing vaccination efforts. The Southwest Missouri Democrats held a press conference in partnership with Access Family Care in Joplin with the goal of sharing information about the area's COVID-19 situation and to raise vaccination rates. Joplin's Mayor Pro Tem spoke at the event and says he wants to raise awareness about vaccination in the community amid the rise in hospitalizations.
With the Delta variant surge currently, most of the hospitalizations are from the unvaccinated. So I definitely think there needs to be an effort to educate and give people all the positive reinforcement and information that they need to make an informed decision to get the vaccine.
Cortez also says the City Council is aware of the area's COVID-19 numbers and says they're standing by to help the community. Pittsburgh State University announces new COVID-19 mitigation measures. Prior to moving into residence halls, students will have to either submit proof of vaccination, show they've had the virus at some point since March, had a negative test within 72 hours of arrival, or be willing to take a COVID test when they arrive for move-in day. The university is encouraging faculty, staff, and students to get vaccinated and will offer incentives to vaccinated students. Additionally, all faculty, staff, and students will be required to wear masks indoors, regardless of vaccination status, if social distancing is not possible. The policy will be reviewed every 2 weeks. You can find more information on that on our website. A geophysical survey is taking place in Fort Scott. KOAM's Chris Warner went to the fort and has more on what exactly is being done.
The team is from Lincoln, Nebraska, specifically the Midwest Archaeological Center, which is part of the National Park Service. They're here to survey the Fort Scott National Historic Site with help of some fancy tech.
Gradiometers, electrical resistance, ground penetrating radar, electromagnetic induction.
And what they're using it for is to uncover lost history.
The goal is to locate those features in a non-destructive way. So whereas in the past we might be out here excavating to better understand the site or buildings that we suspect were once here, we're using these instruments to peer below the ground surface and get a better idea about historic features in the archaeology of the site.
There's a few things they know roughly where to look for.
The hospital, which is now the visitor center, had a latrine and a storage shed behind it, so we'll be looking for those two structures. Each of the officers' quarters had a series of buildings, the same buildings, latrines and storage sheds behind them. Some are still standing, but others are no longer standing, but we know they were located behind those buildings, so we'll be looking for those.
Others will be a bit harder to find.
We can see where the buildings once stood. We can lay out what we have known through drawings exactly where they were so that we can really get a picture of how this fort looked back in the 1840s, almost 180 years ago.
Carl Brenner with the fort says it's exciting to learn more about the real Fort Scott.
Most people that visit the fort don't have a clue what all's back here. When I started here, I didn't have a clue what all was back here. This is going to tell us those stories. This is going to share what really happened at the fort, what it really looked like. Is what looks like just a field actually has life, or had life on top of it, but that life is being told through the stories that's below it.
The team will be at the fort for 2 weeks. They're planning to return in the spring following a prescribed burn of the prairie nearby to look for other pieces of lost history. In historic Fort Scott, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Brenner says they hope to use what they find combined with old photos to create augmented reality tours where you'll be able to hold up your phone and see what once was there. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, calls to resign.
Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women. I'm Bradley Blackburn with the new pressure on Cuomo to resign.
Plus, for our Something to Talk About, we're asking, do you agree with the governor's pardon of the McCloskeys? We let you weigh in. But first, it's 6:38.
Our temperatures ranging right now from the high 50s all the way to the mid 60s. What a pleasant morning. And we'll just kind of hang out in the mid 80s later on this afternoon. Now we get 2 more days of mild temps before the heat begins to move in on Friday and carry us into the mid 90s for the weekend. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Get ready. Topping Nation Watch this morning, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is under pressure to resign from his office after an independent investigation determined he sexually harassed at least 11 women. Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
Governor Andrew Cuomo has held onto power in New York for 10 years, but now calls for his resignation are coming from all corners.
I think he should resign.
From the president to both of New York's senators.
I continue to believe the governor should resign.
This is a very serious and damning report.
An independent investigation found the Democratic governor sexually harassed 11 women, many of whom worked for him.
The independent investigation found that Governor Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, many of whom were young women, by engaging in unwanted groping, kisses, hugging, and by making inappropriate comments.
Investigators interviewed 179 people and found a pattern of substantiated and corroborated incidents. There are new allegations Cuomo sexually harassed a state trooper on his security detail, running his hand or fingers across her stomach and back and kissing her on the cheek. Another woman said Cuomo reached under her blouse and grabbed her breast.
None of them welcomed it.
I cooperated with the review.
For months, Cuomo said to wait for the report. Now, in a taped video, he dismisses it defiantly.
I never touched anyone inappropriately or made inappropriate sexual advances. That is just not who I am.
Charlotte Bennett, one of Cuomo's accusers, told CBS News anchor Norah O'Donnell the report is vindicating.
He sexually harassed me. I am not confused. It is not confusing. I am living in reality, and it's sad to see that he's not.
Cuomo could face both civil and criminal charges, and if he doesn't resign from his office, he may be impeached. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The State Assembly has its own impeachment investigation going on right now. Its Judiciary Committee has a pre-planned meeting next week and is expected to discuss the next steps. The CDC has issued a new temporary moratorium on evictions. The new order expires October 3rd. It covers counties experiencing substantial or high levels of COVID-19 spread, where about 90% of the U.S. population resides. That's a look at today's top national stories. Now let's toss it on back over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Zach. On the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Instapoll, Missouri Governor Mike Parson making good on his promise to pardon Mark and Patricia McCloskey. The McCloskeys gained notoriety for pointing guns at demonstrators as they marched past their home in St. Louis of last year. Now, in June, the couple pleaded guilty to misdemeanors related to that incident. Those charges have now been pardoned by Governor Parson. Our question to you, is, do you agree with the pardon of the McCloskeys? And even though we've seen the percentages come down just a little bit, it's still overwhelming, with 79% saying yes, they should have been pardoned. You can go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Let us know what you think. You can also connect to us by going to our Facebook page. Zach and I will be back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries next.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Colonel Nan Borg, who served in the United States Army in Vietnam. She earned the Bronze Star and the Legion of Merit. Her hometown, Carthage, Missouri. We're proud to salute Nan Borg, a four-state hero.
Off by Nikki Rickmeyer. That's a marvelous picture right there. Nikki celebrating her 28th birthday. Excuse me. Dog's got me choked up, Nikki. I think that's a marvelous picture. Have a great birthday, Nikki.
And a very happy birthday to Randy Wixon with the parakeets. That's really great too. She's turning 38 in Baxter Springs.
That's tremendous.
That is tremendous.
That one coming. That's cool. Pam Tipton celebrating her 60th birthday. Miss Pam, she is celebrating in Toronto. Toronto, Kansas.
Okay. I didn't know there was a Toronto, Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been, hey, Pam, I know where you're at. I've been to Toronto a couple times.
He knows where you live.
I do. Pam, I do not know where you live. That is not true.
A very happy birthday to Janice Fries, turning 62 in Thayer, Kansas.
Donna Zillner, a happy 67th birthday to Miss Donna. She is in Pleasanton.
And a very happy birthday to Lucille Chrismore, turning 95 in Coffeyville.
A beautiful, beautiful picture of Miss Chrismore right there. I love that. John and Debbie Castle, they are celebrating their 48th anniversary. Let's turn back the clock. Look at them walking down the aisle right there. What a beautiful dress that Debbie had on. They 48 years and they're in Columbus. Congratulations, John and Debbie.
And a very happy anniversary to Alan and Rosemary Johnson. Another one.
Go back.
Their 50th anniversary was on July 30th, so we're just a few days late, but hey, anniversary week sounds like a good plan to me.
I don't know, you 50 years, man. We'll carry that. We'll carry that all the way through the month if you'd like, Alan and Rosemary. That's tremendous.
But they're celebrating in Columbus.
Now, how about this, Zach? Galen and Martha Christensen. 74 years. How marvelous is that?
Yeah, that's great.
Galen and Martha, a very big congratulations. I'll tell you what, that's an amazing number right there. They're in Columbus as well. Columbus, the place for anniversaries.
Yes, it is.
And look at the numbers, 48, 50, and 74.
Right.
All in Columbus. That's tremendous.
It's got to be something in the water.
Could be. Could be.
Very happy birthday to Jeff Beaver in Joplin.
And Xander Richardson finishes off. Speaking of Columbus, that is where Xander is celebrating as well. Happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this August the 4th. Or if you're like the Johnsons, you're celebrating 50 years and we caught up a couple days later, nothing wrong with that at all. Keep that celebration going. Now, here's Zach Dodge with a very important birthday announcement.
You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. You can get special deals from local businesses as well. So go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
We got a little bit of everything on the tower cannon outside. We got the glow cloud right in between the trees. We got in the middle of flyover country. You can see the contrail up there from an airplane just flew by. It's a gorgeous looking start, even with that haze out there. It gives us a little bit more color with the purples. 64 in Neosho, 65 in Miami, still 59 in Iola. Iola's been sitting there and at 59 pretty much all morning long. Good looking Skywatch storm tracker as well. Everything quiet with the jet stream slowly pushing off to the east. The good thing about that is it's going to take that smoke and that haze. It's going to push it toward the Mississippi as it continually moves to the east here for the next couple of days. But it's going to be replaced by heat. Nice thing about the severe thunderstorm risk map, carves us out of it once again. Really just a small portion. This is the third consecutive day where our thunderstorm activity for the contiguous 48 has been very limited. So we will take that action any day of the week. Be nice if they could pick up some rain there on the west coast, certainly. Afternoon planner for us, mid-80s, so very mild for this time of year. We should be around 91, 92 degrees, and we're going to be about 6, 7 degrees below that. Overnight, partly cloudy skies with a wind shift. As a matter of fact, the wind is already transitioning right now. It's pretty much coming in from the east, and eventually it's going to work in from the southeast. Any shot for rain, say about 2 to 5 tonight, and then as we get into Thursday morning, it wants to pop up just a little bit on us here. Say about mid Thursday morning, and we're not looking at anything severe or sustained, and it's not going to cause any threats by any means. But you know, might want to throw the old umbrella in there for tomorrow. Then we're going to come back, roll 90s on Friday, back up into the mid 90s. Here comes the summer-like heat, just in time for the weekend. Zach and I'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The CDC has issued a new temporary moratorium on evictions. The new order expires October 3rd. It covers counties experiencing substantial or high levels of COVID-19 spread, where about 90% of the U.S. population resides. One of the largest employers in the 4 states announces it's requiring vaccines for its U.S.-based workforce. Tyson Foods made the announcement on Tuesday. The company also announced it would give $200 to fully vaccinated team members. Tyson's chief medical officer said, quote, "Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 is the single most effective thing we can do to protect our team members, their families, and their communities." Joplin area advocates and health officials are pushing vaccination efforts. The Southwest Missouri Democrats held a press conference in partnership with Access Family Care in Joplin with the goal of sharing information about the area's current COVID-19 situation and to raise vaccine rates. Joplin's Mayor Pro Tem spoke at the event and says he wants to raise awareness about vaccination in the community amid the rise in hospitalizations. The mayor also says the City Council is aware of the area's COVID-19 numbers and says they're standing by to help the community. A campaign to put Missouri's new gasoline tax increase to a public vote has been tabled. Americans for Prosperity Missouri had hoped voters would overturn the tax increase, but the group's executive director says the campaign just didn't come together. The law will gradually raise the state's 17-cent a gallon gas tax to 29.5 cents over 5 years. Buyers can get a refund if they keep their receipts. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
It's going to put us up into the mid-80s with the hazy skies and the wind already in the midst of shifting. It'll come in from the south-southeast. So you'll notice there on the right-hand side of the panel, we do not drop as far down on the old thermometer as what we have for the past couple of overnights. You know, we've usually rolled a high 50, 59 every now and then here ever since Sunday, but that trend is about to change, and that's because our daily highs are beginning to warm up. Even though we roll 86s for today and tomorrow, Friday is 92, Saturday and Sunday 95 and 96.
Looks like we're going to have a pretty warm week next week.
Yeah, next week going to be, no, it's going to be a scorcher.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to call it what it is.
And coming up today at noon, we're going to have the latest summertime recipe for this warm heat in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Your morning news continues on KOAM. We've got the CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us to Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And it looks like we're going to have a pretty good show coming up.
There's a lot
over on Fox 14. Yeah.
The SAC show right there. Good job, Caden Milner. Good job. Also, too, we're going to continue to update our polls on Mark and Patricia McCloskey being pardoned by Governor Mike Parson. We're seeing that number that overwhelmingly started off at yes begin to dip, Zach. So it'll be interesting to see where that trends here by the end of the Fox. So flip on over and join us over there. I hope you get a chance to enjoy some sunshine today. Do me a favor. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.